Hi, so I'm very pleased to be joined by Adrian Humphries all the way from New Zealand. I will do a disclaimer right at the start here that Adrian and I do know each other. We've known each other for quite some years, and I'll go into that towards the end of the presentation in a little bit more detail. But Adrian, welcome to the Rural Crime Chat. I'm so pleased. Thank you very much for spending the time. It's New Year's Day over there in New Zealand, and it's New Year's Eve here in the UK. Very pleased that you can join us. And just so
Very happy to do that, Richard. Very happy to do that.
Yeah. Everyone's aware. Adrian is currently a senior manager in local government in a regulatory capacity in New Zealand. So there we go. So thanks for joining us. You know what we've been doing. I know you've been following us. You've joined our groups on various social medias relating to rural crime, and I wanted to try and take this opportunity to explore the similarities of the UK and New Zealand and just see what's going on there. And I'm to let everybody know, you know, Adrian and I have both studied and looked in depth at the recently produced, the 2023 Federated Farmers Rural Crime Survey, specifically for New Zealand. And what was interesting to me, Adrian, it's that it's the same things in New Zealand as it is here in England, as it is in India, Africa, and Australia. And by classic examples, we're getting people getting all their fuel stolen, their animals nicked, they're stealing tractors and GPS units, and it's just a whole massive industry for criminals. Is that a similar thing across there in New Zealand? Can you give us a bit of an insight what's going on?
Yeah, thanks, Richard. Yeah, I've lived here now for nearly 18 years, and I originally started in Ashburton, which is a rural community. Then I worked in Tasman for 13 years, and I've recently moved down to the Southland area. But it has definitely become more obvious in those 18 years that there is rural crime. And reading the statistics in the New Zealand Herald, that it has increased, and which is a concern. Whether that's because people's lifestyle choices have changed, and by that I mean now you've got a lot of burnouts and kids using cars near farms, say kids, adults using cars near farms. And it's not just the safety effect for them or people using a road, but it's the safety of the animals. It's farmers having to change their practices to move stock away from roads. It's also the fact that if they go for a fence and then suddenly got stock all over roads. And one area where I've worked in the last 18 years here is removing stock from roads. And there's some horrific accidents happen because stock have got out of paddocks. And in some occasions, that's because people have lost control of a vehicle when doing burnouts and smashed through a fence and then got away and not told anybody. So yeah, it is a worry. On the theft side, I've got a small block up in Tasman, and I've even suffered it myself. I've had fuel stolen. I've had power tools stolen from one of my outdoor sheds, and it's all minor stuff, but it's like death by 1,000 cuts, and that's a real issue for us. Yeah. And I suppose what's maybe more apparent in New Zealand than in the UK, a lot of people go on to the larger farms to do illegal hunting, and of course you've got firearms involved. You've got high velocity rifles that fire a long way, and if they don't know where the people are living on that farm, or where the workers are on that farm, or even the animals, they can cause mayhem.
That's really interesting, and similar things in the UK, but two very interesting points that you bring up there that don't tend to appear in the UK crime statistics, because it's slightly different. So you mentioned the burnout, so the road racing, the youngsters and the teenagers in their cars doing their donuts and all that kind of stuff. That tends not to be such an issue here in the UK. But obviously, as you know, I lived in New Zealand for a few years myself. Yeah. A wee while ago. We'll come on to that a little bit more later. But those things I've seen firsthand in New Zealand tends not to happen so much here in the UK. Our sort of equivalent, if you like, our problem across the UK, which is on the increase actually, is hare coursing. Where you know where people are going in with their dogs, they're hunting dogs, typically greyhounds, and chasing hares. Now, that seems like a minor kind of an issue, but in the process of doing that, they break down farmers' gates, they break down fences, and then of course they're going on to the land with their 4x4s typically, and they're causing a lot of crop damage. The one about
Mm.
hunting, now that's really interesting. So on this screen here, I've got the New Zealand statistics up, and the 2023 Federated Farmers Survey. Now they had 1,000 respondents, which is quite a good response actually, based on the 21 and the 2016 survey. The respondents have increased year on year, and out of those 1,000, 52.9% of those respondents reported illegal hunting as being an issue, which is quite frightening, really. And then there's one
Yeah.
that really surprised me, because it wasn't even on my radar, but it's very much on the radar in New Zealand. Rural buildings, farmers' land being used to cultivate drugs, methamphetamine and
Yeah.
cannabis, and that's a new one on me. Is that a big issue?
I'm not so sure about the methamphetamine. They might be using outbuildings for cooking methamphetamine. I'm not so sure about that statistic.
Yeah.
There's always been an issue with the cultivation of cannabis in New Zealand on rural areas, forestry areas, because obviously forestry is a form of farming as well, but you're farming trees. Yeah, so that is an issue definitely everywhere. And in those cases, what tends to happen if the gangs are growing, cultivating the cannabis, they tend to set traps as well to injure people if they're there. So a farmer could be going about his business, or a legitimate visitor could be going about their business and get quite seriously injured in those cases. So I know that that's an issue in some areas,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's really interesting. You've mentioned the gang issue there. I'm
Mm,
guessing it's directly related to. So I looked into the detail regarding the number of incidents that have occurred on various farming properties across New Zealand, and there's key areas where crime hotspots. I don't know those areas. I'll mention them in a moment. You'll probably be able
mm,
to tell me where they are across the islands. But when it comes to reporting crimes to the police, there's a big reluctance,
yeah,
because often, and what these statistics from the Fed Farmers report has shown, is that there's a high probability that they know the offender. The offenders are going to be known in the local community, and in some areas, and I'm guessing this is related to gang-related stuff as well. There's a real fear that if I report this crime, I'm going to get reprisals, and my family might be at risk, and that's one of the issues here in the UK, and also the same in Ireland. I recently spoke to Matt Bowen from the Dublin University, and the same
mm,
things. It's interesting, this rural crime. It doesn't matter where you go in the world. If it's rural, if it's agricultural, or remote businesses, the crimes are the same. They're nicking the fuel, they're stealing
sure.
animals, they're doing the donuts, causing the vandalism. So it's just a global problem, and it's massive. Um, you'll be aware what we're trying to achieve through our recent activities, and also going into 2024. We're just trying to raise the awareness of this rural crime issue on a global
Sure.
basis,
Yeah.
and that's why we appreciate people like your good self giving up some time to come and have a chat with us. And it's been really interesting, because what you've told me is almost, yeah, it's the same wherever you go. Little nuances, which I knew it'd be invaluable getting you on, because I wouldn't have thought about the illegal hunting side, the shooting of animals, and I'm
Mm.
guessing that's probably things like deer, because there's a lot of pig hunting in New Zealand as well, isn't there? Is that?
Yeah, there's a lot of pig hunting. There's also deer hunting, but the main risk from that is the ridiculous part of it. Most farmers, if you ask them, will allow you to go onto their land, and they'll tell you where
Yeah,
the people live. They'll tell you where the stock is. They'll tell you where you can go and hunt. And I've done hunting for wallabies of all things in Burke Pass
right.
not so
Yeah,
long ago. And we talked to the farmer before we went up there and cleaned up a few of the wallabies, because they don't want pests on it. They don't want pigs, and they don't want deer, and they
of
don't
course. Yeah.
want wallabies on the land. So they're quite happy to work with you. So it's having an idea of how that can be communicated better, maybe to people. I'm not going to have free slather and people go on there willy nilly, but obviously,
Yeah.
if people are polite and sensible and they have a plan, the farmers are probably quite affable to it.
It's a
The
win-win
yeah,
situation then, isn't it?
absolutely, and then they get to do the hunting, and the farmer gets to be safe, and nobody on his property is going to get shot accidentally. I suppose the other thing we have in New Zealand, like in parts of UK and Ireland, we're quite a large area with a very small population. I mean, New Zealand's about the same size as UK, but we've got less than 10% of the population of
Yeah.
UK. So, and in rural Southland, you've got like 11% of the actual land surface of New Zealand with 30,000 people living there.
Wow.
So you've got huge areas where there aren't people, and so policing that is virtually impossible. I appreciate that people say, "Oh, we should have more police," and the police are very, very busy people, and they do take rural crime seriously, but they've only got so many resources to do that.
Yeah.
And I think in the Federated Farmers Survey it said that in 15% of cases they'd actually prosecuted where they found somebody had the evidence to do it. So the police are definitely an important tool in the bag. But picking up on one of the points you mentioned earlier about people not reporting it, a part of it might be fear of revenge, but the other thing which I think comes into it as well is people feel quite embarrassed sometimes if they've had stuff nicked. They think, well, if I'd locked it or I'd put a padlock on the diesel tank or whatever, I wouldn't have this problem. So they think, well, I'll take this one on the chin. So I think awareness of the problem is key to having people reduce the amount of crime, definitely.
Yeah.
And then getting into good habits, I suppose. My wife, who's from New Zealand, says, "Why do you lock the car all the time?"
Exactly.
because I'm from UK,
It might
and
not,
if you
yeah.
don't lock your car, it's unlikely to be there in a few
God.
hours' time. So
If your wife had spent some time in Plymouth where you grew up,
oh, exactly,
she would
absolutely.
lock her car.
She'd be going to the insurance company every other week. But
Yeah.
so it's just getting into good habits. I think it's a lot of it.
Well, so that's such a brilliant point, because our message, our whole message, is about awareness, vigilance, and not just the farmer being aware. It's no good if I'm the farm owner or the landowner. It's no good me having a good idea about rural crime. I need all my workers, and I need all my contractors aware, and that's what we're trying to do. So you'd have seen what's going on. Myself and Mick Hawks from Hawks and Co. We're putting together a bit of a training resource, and just trying to generally get people switched on. It's the same in England as well. There's a bit of a so if the farmers haven't been a victim of crime, it's not a problem to them. And it's the same in my safety. When I go do my safety stuff and my risk management stuff, those it's a hard sell to try and convince people to change their security habits or change their safety habits if they're not aware of anyone else who's become a victim, or they haven't been a victim themselves. It's normally the horse has bolted, let's try and close the door scenario. It's always done after the fact. So our aim is to try and get that awareness done now, because it's those basics. You've mentioned it: locking the car, parking your trailers and your things where they can't be driven away. You may have seen the other day on the Facebook page where I feel so sorry for these people, where they parked up their trailer at night. It was full of their Christmas stock that they were going to sell. The thieves stole the trailer, and of course they lost all their livelihood for Christmas. And it's the impact of this crime thing. You've hit on something so relevant, that kind of embarrassment which can lead to underreporting. That's quite bad. But then there's that real feeling where, particularly if they've been in your property, where you feel violated, and if you've got children and a wife, and there's that underlying feeling of, oh, am I still vulnerable? And it's really, really quite scary. So that's really fascinating. Of those respondents to the Federated Farmers, then I'm just quickly looking down, just go through some very quick stats, and then we'll sort of wind it up, because I'm mindful of your time. 51% And bear in mind that thousands kind of representative of the industry across New Zealand. Over 51% were victims of crime and had some.
Terrible, isn't it?
It's massive. It's
Yeah.
such a huge problem. I mean, to put I don't know the monetary figure for New Zealand, but to put it from a UK perspective, the latest rural crime survey, which is published by the NFU here in the UK, similar kind of organisation, I guess. The latest survey published in 2023 said that there was around just under £50 million worth of reported rural crime in the UK in that reporting. And we've said there's a load of underreporting, so God knows what what the real figure will be. Yeah, so fascinating. So what's the takeaway messages then? Be alert.
Yeah, well, be aware, be alert. Do report it.
Yeah.
Because one of the frustrations, I think, reading that Federated Farmers Survey is that the farmers are saying, well, the judges need to convict more of these people, get them in court and convict them and give them harsher sentences. I understand that frustration entirely, but the police and the courts are the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. And so what needs to happen is people need to be aware, because if you get a farmer each side of you who is aware and carries out their due diligence and prevents themselves from getting robbed, you move the problem along, don't you? You know, and I know that thieves are lazy. That's why they're thieves.
Easy target.
And so what they'll do, and so what they'll do, they'll go for the easier target every time. So I think get aware, get the knowledge you need, do things that will prevent thieves from stealing from you. And if you do suffer it, don't be embarrassed, report it, because the police then can factor in where these events are happening. They can identify the hot zones, if you like, and then probably work out who's causing the problem in the first place.
Yeah, one of the other things that I took from the rural crime survey from the Fed farmers in New Zealand was they asked a number of questions about what security do you currently have, and most people have dogs in New Zealand, which I thought was great deterrent. Dogs, very noisy and very alert, obviously, and then of course nut lighting and CCTV cameras. And one of the messages that Mick Hawkes and I have been pushing is, look, you can't rely on having CCTV. It doesn't stop you becoming a victim. It's great for investigating crime. And this was borne out very briefly. There's a lady called Kate Tudor from Northumbria University. She's done extensive research into rural crime. She's a leading expert in rural criminology. And she's actually interviewed those that were caught. So they're not so clever criminals, really, who agreed to be interviewed. And one of her questions to them was, what's the impact of CCTV and warning signage? And they just don't care, because they turn up with balaclavas on or face masks or hoodies. The vehicle registration plates, if they're driving vehicles, are doctored, or they're stolen vehicles, either or. And they'll be in knowing that you're never going to find them, you're never going to see your stuff again, and they're gone. And so CCTV, not bad for once your kit's been stolen, but it's no good as a preventative measure. The seasoned criminals, these people are the same in New Zealand. They're organized, they're well funded, and they're clever people. And
absolutely,
mild deterrent. So thank you for that, mate. Can you stay on the line for one more second, because I want to bring something up. I'm just fiddling around here. Bear with me. Going back to what we were saying, you and I have known each other for donkey's years, mate. So I wanted to bring this up. Tell me that you can see the screen when you can.
It just says you started screen sharing. I can't see it. Oh yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I'm going to take you back down memory lane, mate. So
I can see where my boys get a pointy out ears now.
So you may have noticed the smart, handsome right marker. That this one here would probably be me. And then over here is my good friend Adrian Humphries.
Yeah, that was been 83, I think.
It was 83, so we joined in 82, didn't we? 7th September. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this might be our passing out parade. And
it could be,
There's a number of old names and faces in there. Big Ted there, look, and all these other people. There's a couple in there who are no longer with us, unfortunately, which is really sad to see. But bear with
And
me,
some who
guys.
still are, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, like me and you, according to other people.
Oh,
But
yeah, fantastic.
I
No,
remember
it's
it
good,
well.
mate.
I'm going to tell
It's
a
good, mate.
quick anecdote because there's things that have stuck in my mind, Hippo, since since our army days. We joined on the same day and we went through together. We went to the Gulf together. We were best man at each other's weddings, blah, just so people get a feel, for
Mm.
we're very good friends. And my first my first memory of joining the army was me and you stood outside of the building just down off that parade there, um, after we'd been there, I don't know, only a few hours, and we were kind of in a daze thinking, God, what have we signed up for here? And we were both stood out, we both used to smoke in the day. And that's when we first met and we had our first chat.
Right.
Hello, hello, who are you? Oh, my name's Dick, my
Ah,
name's Zippo. And I recall I was smoking something and you'd made a,
number six.
that's it, you'd made a comment
Number
on
six. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
they sweep them up off the floor. And that was the start of a long. I can't. That was
Mm.
90. I can't believe that, mate. 1982.
Yeah.
So,
It's
anyway,
great, isn't it?
we progressed on, and
Yeah.
this is very briefly a picture of our class 3 environmental health course
That's
where
right. That's
we
right. Yeah.
allowed some of the Navy to come in. Remember Billy and
That's
Billy,
right. Yeah. Big Bill lives in Canada now.
me and you
Yeah.
circled, and I want this is Bruce. So for people watching,
Mm.
take a note of the face in the middle, and then
Mm.
and I'm going to refer to it in a minute. So very quickly, let's move on. Me and Hippo went to the Gulf War. We had a good time in the Gulf War.
Ah.
We really did, and we even had a happy Christmas. There's me and Hippo in the middle there. Um, some strange fungal infection underneath my nostril by the look of it. But I think I do love this picture here. Here, look, Hippo, with you on in next to the rover with a little rat,
Mm.
little rat in
Yeah.
the spare wheel.
Yeah,
And
I've still got that somewhere, I think. I'll have to try and find it. Yeah.
I've still got that moustache somewhere. I think it's in the cupboard.
Oh God, don't find that.
And then
Score.
and there's me
Mm.
and you at Christmas, obviously. And I think the highlight of my Christmas there, and probably yours as well, when when we stole the OC's hooch.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
made a punch with it, and the rest is history. But at least we
Yeah.
dished it out and shared the Christmas spirit. And
Absolutely.
then
Absolutely.
I only found this. I don't. You see does my arrow show on the screen your end?
I've got my pictures in the way. I'll just see if I can. No, I won't move. I can't see an arrow there. No, no,
Oh,
no.
not to worry. So the picture on the left then is you and the Padre. You can see that, and
Mm.
you're very quick to get in. Once we were going, that's just after we went over the breach, And I thought, oh yeah, Hippo's sidling up with the Padre just in case, like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
bumping his spot. That's
Get
you.
your bids in early. That's it. Yeah.
That's you washing your pants there, look. And then I'll move out of the way. You being a grumpy twat in the corner, nothing new there. And I love this picture on the top right there, which is that old Iraqi whatever it was. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sat there
APC. Yeah. Yeah.
getting a bit of sun, just a couple more like. And then
Yeah.
I wanted to put a couple of pictures up of people
Yeah.
who we were with, who left quite a mark on us. And starting with young Jeff in the middle there. So
Yeah.
sad, he had a heart. He was 46 when he had a heart attack
Yeah. That's right.
on the beach.
Terrible.
His new wife and his little baby girl. But there is a little funny story that comes out of it. So when we came back from the Gulf, we went to Evesham, Worcestershire, didn't we? We went to his wedding.
That's right. For his wedding. That's
We
right. Yeah.
thought we were
Yeah.
the best singers in the world, and we sang under the boardwalk, and it was really quite cool. When I sadly had to go back to the same place
Mhm.
for his funeral. We've running out of time. What we got left? Right, I'll be nice and quick.
You got 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, but the funny thing was at his funeral. I turned up to his funeral, and there's a few others there: Roy Bedson and Davey Stewart, and Paul Mewett, a very good friend of Jeff's, was meant to be one of the pallbearers, but the other pallbearers were like 6 foot something, and poor little Jock Mewett, as you know, is only 1'3". So I got collared in quite honoured. I was over the moon actually. I was
Mm.
able to be a pallbearer because the coffin wouldn't have it. Paul's shoulders, and then there's Jock Stewart in the bottom left and
Oh
top.
no, oh no, don't miss me. Eh?
Right.
Yeah, he's still going.
He's
Good
still
man.
well, mate.
Yeah.
He's still in the army. He's coming out next
Mm,
year. And then
yeah.
the man on the bottom right, who's probably ingrained in
Simon.
your brain as much as mine. 6 months living in the desert in a tent with him, washing his ghoulies in a bowl of warm soapy water every morning.
Nothing is more horrific than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and guess what? He's smoking a rollie. And
Yeah, yeah.
and then just finally a few little bits and bobs from around the days. Remember, you came over to my 40th birthday party in York.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
Lundy there and McGowan there, and then you and Jonah Jones testing the water on the outskirts of
Yeah.
Kuwait, if I recall rightly. Me when I used
That's
to smoke and have very odd hair when I had some.
right. Yeah, I
And
know
then,
that feeling.
yeah, tell me. And then Brucey Boy, who I believe is on this
Mm,
last one as well, who,
yeah.
bless him, I, this is when we all did where are you? You're in there you are somewhere. You're in there somewhere. See, that's
Yes.
when we did a bit of a Zoom get together one Christmas for him.
Right.
And then that's at Southport Parade a couple of years back. That's him fairly recently. And this one here, I love this picture because he realizes at that moment how heavy he actually is sat in that chair. He knows I've got to push him. I couldn't get him going. I had to get a jump start with two people. But
No, good on him.
let's stop that shit.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, so I wanted to end on that little note, Grim, because
That's great, mate. Thank you.
you've been a good friend to me forever, and long may that continue, mate. I appreciate your time coming on here today. Thank you.
Mate.
I hope people enjoy what our little chat and our little bit of banter at the end there. But that's what it's all about. And if they don't like it, they can just scroll on by.
Yeah, well, good on you, mate, and good on what you're doing. I think it's something that's absolutely critical in this day and age, and we've got to look after the good guys and sort of make the bad guys' lives more difficult.
No,
so,
you're right. Yeah.
Good on you. Yeah.
Scumbags are out.
All right, mate.
Thank you.
Well,
Love
to call you the boys.
Take
and
very
I'll
good care.
get you soon.
See you,
All right, mate.
Bye for now.
You
Cheers.
take care.
Regards
Cheers,
to
mate.
the family.
Bye.
Thank you.